Hey guys, musicninjamat here. This is my review for Captain Mar-Vell. I went to the midnight release so that I could see it as soon as possible. There will be spoilers throughout this review, and I will chuck timestamps down below for everything I'm going to talk about. So I've tried to put this review together as best as I can. There was a lot in this movie, so I was trying to keep track in my head of what I wanted to speak about, so I apologise if it seems all over the place. This isn't a structured review, this is just thoughts pouring out. So the opening Mar-Vell Studios logo, it was all of Stan Lee's different cameos, really nice way to tribute him. The whole cinema was applauding and got very emotional straight away when this happened. And speaking of Stan, this could be one of my favourite Stan Lee cameos because he is sat on a bus, he's reading the script for Mallrats, because remember, this is set in the 90s. I'm a huge Kevin Smith fan. That was really cool, and it's nice as well because it's Captain Mar-Vell looking for a Skrull, and she shares this look with Stan and she just gives him this little smile, and I thought it was really nice. It's also apparent very early on how cosmic based this film is, of course, but it's always nice in these Mar-Vell films when we see more planets, more alien races. It builds the universe, it expands it out. I also like seeing all the different alien tech that is out there, all the different weapons. So the characters, Carol Danvers, Captain Mar-Vell. I have seen a lot of people that really do not like this character. They didn't like her in the comic books, and they don't like Brie Larson's portrayal. People have said the acting was wooden, all this kind of stuff. I liked her. I liked her character. I don't know much of Carol from the comics. I've only really seen her as an Avenger and in events. I mean, the last thing I properly saw her in was Civil War II, and she was a bit of a dick, so I can kind of see why people are sour on this character. But I really liked her sense of humour. There's a reason that she was wooden, as people said, because she's a soldier and the Kree don't really take any nonsense. But I like how this humour spills out. I like that when a Skrull screamed at her, she screamed back. I like she makes these little jokes. She's very witty, and I'm like, she'd really get on with Spider-Man. I love this idea of this really powerful superhero who is actually a little bit immature and a little bit silly. And of course, it's always interesting when you get to see where the suit came from and the new suit colours. How she sort of got the title Captain Mar-Vell in a way is hinted at as well. Just seeing her slowly transform into that character. So there are things I liked. I'll get back into the characters in a sec. There's just more to say about Carol, because all these things we were seeing in the trailer, her training to be a pilot, her as a kid, all this stuff is seconds worth of movie. There's flashback sequences, and they happen in a good way in as much as it's the Skrulls digging through her memories because they want information. So it's an organic way it weaves into the story. But I was just a bit disappointed that they were like, here's her origin, look at these little flashbacks. People said she couldn't be a pilot, but she proved people wrong. I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to do an origin story in a different style, but I didn't like this. I wanted to see a lot more of Carol on Earth before she gained her powers. I wanted to see more of that, more of her relationships, more of her life. They structured it in the way they did with how events played out because they wanted certain twists to happen. They wanted you to know just as much as Carol did. The thing is, sometimes you can have it where you give us the information and we're watching her try to figure it out. There's also one of those weird things in this movie when she comes to Earth and she just seems to very quickly know how things work and where things are, and some people pointed that out, but this can easily be explained with, for one, in her subconscious and in her memory, she would know how all this stuff worked, and it's a mix of common sense, and we are not following her in real time. There would be jumps where she has spoken to people. Nick Fury, I really liked seeing this younger version. He's a little bit more goofy, and it's his first time interacting with aliens and superheroes. We see how he was introduced into this world. We also get to see why he lost his eye. This was another thing that annoyed me. He says he trusted someone and he lost an eye in a previous movie. Turns out it was the stupid cat that scratched his eye out. And this cat character, Goose, is not just a cat, it's an alien that's also a pocket dimension. The cat's ridiculous. I would have liked a little less of the cat, but I also really like that Nick and Carol do have really good chemistry on screen, and they just have a really fun dynamic. Talos, the main villain, he's a Skrull leader, and he again, amazing character, really well played, really good sense of humour, and a really nice arc, because he wanted to be reunited with his family. I did like this character, but I'll get into the Skrulls and what they did with the Skrulls a little bit later on. Korath and Ronan were brought back to just not really be in the film and not develop any character, so it was pointless. Maria and her daughter Monica, they were really great characters. This is where a lot of the emotion of the film was in Maria having her best friend come back. Like, she thought Carol was dead, so I liked how those characters weaved in together, and Monica as well, you never know, she could be a young Avenger one day. So Mar-Vell, the MCU's version of Mar-Vell is a woman called Wendy Lawson. Don't mind this at all. I didn't really like her role in the movie, because by the sounds of it, she was this amazing woman that really influenced Carol. We don't get to see that. We don't get to see how amazing Wendy was. And the death of Mar-Vell, that was huge in the comic books. And in this film, she's just kind of shot and forgotten about. And it's very underwhelming. When Coulson was in the movie, he was fun. Would have actually liked to have seen more of him in this. Yon-Rogg as our proper villain. People originally thought Jude Law might have been Mar-Vell, but no, he's Yon-Rogg. And in some aspects, I like Jude Law. He plays it well. Sometimes the character has depth. Other times he's a very dull, one-dimensional villain. It flips between the film, and the Supreme Intelligence is in the film, and it's an interesting concept of the Supreme Intelligence almost brainwashing people. So this is it, the main big thing that really annoyed me about this movie, the Skrulls. Their powers looked really good, the way they were done. There was a lot of potential here. They really didn't capitalise on the fact that the Skrulls are shapeshifters. They did little bits with seeing what the Skrulls could do, where they could infiltrate, but they didn't do a lot with it. The Skrulls are also pretty dumb, really jokey, played off for comedic effect, a little bit too much. And the biggest insult, they are good guys in this movie, and it annoyed me because I was like, you just introduced the most interesting villains into the MCU. Secret Invasion, all of this we could have done, but they're good guys. And when this was like the big twist in the film, I thought, oh okay, I like this idea. I like this idea that Carol's going to help them and they're going to turn on her, and she's suddenly going to realise the Skrulls, the Kree, in this war there is no side to pick. She's got to be in the middle and she's got to take on everybody. But no, they didn't do that. Like, this film takes hints from the Kree-Skrull War, but that's a very big storyline to do whilst also introducing a new character. We should have had something a little lower stakes to meet Carol, and then maybe in a sequel film she could have been dealing with this huge war after we'd seen her kicking ass in Endgame. The basic plot of the movie does boil down to Carol trying to figure out the difference between right and wrong and trying to figure out her past. The Skrulls are after this energy core, which is going to allow them to escape the Kree, and the Kree just seem to be assholes who just want to kill the Skrulls. The Kree sort of see the threat the Skrulls can pose. So I mentioned Secret Invasion, and I think that could be the next big Avengers plotline and film plotline. Who can you trust? Stuff like that. And there's a moment in the film that a few of us noticed. As Talos is going through, he's with his family, and he tells his wife to cover their child's eyes because he's about to kill some guards. And we see that the kid's eyes aren't covered, and the kid sees. Later on, he asks his child, are you okay? And rather than being traumatised, this kid is smiling. That's a weird detail to be in there for it to not mean anything. And there are loads of other Skrulls scattered about. Not all of the Skrulls will be like our handful that we met. yet, but I feel like there is still a chance for something like Secret Invasion, for Skrulls to be villains. But it's like I said, in this film, they were just the good guys. To get a little bit more technical, the tone and colour palette for this film, really dark in places, actually quite hard to see some of the film at times. And the film doesn't really have a personality. The film overall for me was actually a little bit dull. There were some pacing issues, I feel. I was bored at times. And whereas Ant-Man, fun heist movie, Winter Soldier, spy thriller, this didn't really feel like anything. It didn't even feel like a Phase 1 movie to me. It didn't feel like First Avenger or the first Iron Man. This film just kind of jumped around a lot. Like I said, I thought they would do more with the Skrulls impersonating S.H.I.E.L.D. operatives. I thought that would be a big plot thread, but it's just kind of dropped and they jump onto the next thing. This film as well very much is set in the 90s. You notice all the details about different stores and clothing and bands, everything like that, which is quite cool. There's a lot of jokes about the tech, about computers and how slow they were to load, and we get some really good music. I enjoyed the soundtrack, a lot of 90s tunes in there. So my final few points now with this energy core that the Skrulls are after, it was revealed to be the Tesseract. My first reaction was like, that's awesome, we're bringing that back, we're connecting things together. Then my brain tried to figure out how this fits into the timeline. When would the Tesseract have gone from Howard Stark to here, back to S.H.I.E.L.D.? Like, Nick Fury gets the Tesseract at the end and is told to keep it a secret, so that makes sense. But I was trying to just wrap my head around a few bits and pieces. And it seems less dangerous in this film, like anyone can just sort of grab it. The climactic battle as well, really did enjoy that in a way, because Carol has this inhibitor chip which is never really mentioned, which annoyed me, but it's hinted at what it is. And when she's able to bust that off and she says, I've been fighting with one arm tied behind my back, and she just unleashes all her power, I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. Just seeing her wreck everything, seeing her really overcome, and seeing the scenes where she's told she's only human. And it's one of these moments, she's just being told once again she can't do something, and we see her throughout her life. She always gets back up. She always stands back up. I just feel like, again, that would have had more gravity had we seen more detail in past moments in her life. We see the origin of the pager as well. We actually get to see Nick receiving that, so that's cool. And then there's just one more thing before the post-credit scene, of course, which is that Nick Fury says, you know, Carol's gone. She goes off to help the Skrulls find a home. She gives him the pager, says, in an emergency, call me. For one, she could have probably dealt with Ultron and the Battle of New York and a lot of things very quickly. But also, he decides that he needs to start looking for other superheroes. There must be more people like her. And we see him writing the Protector initiative. And then there's a photo of Carol, and on the side of her plane, it says Carol Avenger Danvers. So he names it the Avengers Initiative. And I was a little bit like, did we need that? Did she need to be that important that he named the team after her? It just feels like they're really trying to push Captain Mar-Vell as being very important. And I understand she's important to the team. It just felt a bit weird to me, because it's odd meeting a character so important 10 years down the line. I'm also still trying to figure out, in a way, you didn't have to make this in the 90s. You could have just been like, Captain Marvel's pretty new. Lucky she came about. And finally, the post-credit scenes, there were two. The last one was stupid. I'm not even going to talk about it. It was just a Marvel joke. But the first one made me really happy, because I know it sounds awful, but it was kind of why I came to see the film. I wanted to see Endgame stuff. Like, this is why Ant-Man and the Wasp suffered for me, because I was like, I just had Infinity War. I don't want Ant-Man and the Wasp. I don't want Captain Marvel. I want to know what happens next with the team. And we see the team, they're surrounding the pager. They know it's important because it's the last thing Nick did before he died, was use this pager. And they say, we want to know who's on the other end of that. And Captain Marvel arrives and she says, where's Nick Fury? I instantly was like, this is amazing! Having just watched a film I didn't particularly actually enjoy. Just that scene was worth it for me. I lost my mind, and I was like, you know what? I wouldn't have even had to see this Captain Marvel movie. She could have just turned up in Endgame and been like, what's up, Captain Marvel, Kree warrior from Earth, boom. And I would have been like, cool, I'm down, let's do it. It felt like they were trying to have their cake and eat it too, because this film was treated like, let's jump straight in, but then try and explain who she is as well. And I'm like, no, you either do your origin movie or you jump straight in like you did with Spider-Man and Black Panther. It's one or the other. Anyway guys, I'm gonna leave it there because I was making so many notes for this and racking my brain, and there's so much to talk about with the characters especially. I know there is, but these were my immediate thoughts leaving the cinema. It's my immediate reaction, what was going on in my head. And things may change over time. I may reflect and actually like the movie a little more. I might reflect and be like, no, do you know what, that was a really bad movie. At the moment where I stand, it was average. Didn't love it, didn't despise it, it's just there. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Let me know what you thought of the movie. What stood out to you? Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, as it really helps the channel out. Check out the links in the description down below. Check out the whole channel, especially the playlists, and I will see all of you in the next one.